What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, coming into this season after signing that ginormous contract with the Milwaukee Bucks, there was a lot of pressure on Khris Middleton to perform upon the expectations of the contract. Now, it's not really fair to beat up on a guy sometimes, you know what I'm saying? If the Milwaukee Bucks were willing to pay him that amount of money, then it's all good for Khris Middleton. But at the same time, if you're a fan of the Milwaukee Bucks, you expect Khris Middleton to play up to the level of his contract, which I believe was somewhere in the neighborhood of $34 million per year. Okay, so last year, for the first time, Khris Middleton was an all-star. And last year, although there's some people who question the decision of him being an all-star, and some people say that if he were in the Western Conference, he wouldn't have sniffed an all-star nod, but still, he was an all-star for the first time last year at the age of 27. And last year, in 31 minutes of play, he shot 44% from the floor, 38% from three-point range, shot 84% from the foul line, and averaged 18.3 points per game. Going on with 6 rebounds and 4.3 assists per game. Actually, interestingly enough, that wasn't his career high. His career high, as far as points per game, was the year prior with the Milwaukee Bucks. But this year, although he started off slowly with Milwaukee this year, as of, I'd say, the last month to 6 weeks, Khris Middleton really has stepped up his game through all across, especially offensively. This year, through 45 games, Khris Middleton, and also it has to be stated that Khris Middleton missed about 2 weeks of action, I think, due to a contusion. But still, in 29 minutes of action so far on a nightly basis this season, Khris Middleton's averaging a career high 20.4 points per game, going on with 6.1 rebounds, which right now will be a career high, 4.2 assists, 1 steal. He's shooting a career high 51% from the floor. He's shooting a career high 44% from three-point range, a career high 55% from two-point range, and a career high 90% from the foul line. In fact, since that Christmas Day game that the Milwaukee Bucks lost to the Philadelphia 76ers, Philadelphia made a franchise record 21 three-pointers, and I think Joel Embiid had like 36 and 12 or some, Shaq-like total. Ever since that time, Khris Middleton has stepped up tremendously. He's averaging, during that time period, nearly 23 points per game, almost 7 rebounds, almost 5 assists, shooting almost 53% from the floor, 47% from 3, and 91% from the foul line in that time span, which I think is somewhere around 25 games or something like that. Khris Middleton's really been balling. And I made this video because as great as Milwaukee is this year, with their victory last night, I believe it was against the Orlando Magic, I think it was, that pushed the Milwaukee Bucks to 45-7 on the year. And they have the best record in the NBA, and they're on pace right now to win 71 games. Now, whether or not they win 70 games is questionable. Oftentimes when teams sew up a playoff berth early, and more importantly, first seed berth early, a lot of times they will rest their starters. And with their starters playing no or reduced minutes, that of course increases the likelihood that the opposing team might win some meaningless games toward the end of the season. But when you're trying to, set a mark or a record, you have to wonder what's more important, for Milwaukee to win 70 games or to make sure that their guys are healthy for a strong postseason run. And of course, the latter is more important. I don't think Milwaukee is going to challenge the 2016 Warriors for best record of all time. I mean, I just don't see them only losing two more games. Well, excuse me, only one more game the rest of the season. I just don't find that plausible. Um, that would be one hell of a run if they were to do something like that. And also, I don't see them only losing two more games to pass the Chicago Bulls and push them third all time. But I think it's possible for them to only lose five more games to hit 70. It's possible. What I think is more likely is for them to break the franchise record, which is 66 wins by the 70-71 Milwaukee Bucks, which, of course, went on to win a championship that year with, of course, Lou Alcindor, later to be known as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Oscar Robertson. I think that's more likely. But I think what's important is that the Milwaukee Bucks have this guy who's this secondary scorer. This guy who shows an ability to step up and make big shots when Giannis is garnering double and even triple teams. They have to have a consistent secondary threat. And Khris Middleton has been providing that this season. I still wish that they would have done something with Bledsoe, but at the end of the day, there's also that saying, if it's not broke, don't fix it. They added another piece from Charlotte recently. I forgot the goddamn guy's name already. Williams, something Williams. I forgot his name already. But he's another shooter that they've added to their legion of shooters. So basically, Milwaukee right now is beating their opponents by an average of 12.4 points per game. Right now, if they were to maintain that, that would be number one all time. Even if they don't maintain that, it'll still be one of the greatest margins in NBA history to go along with the 71 Bucks, the 72 Lakers, and the 96 Chicago Bulls. And what those teams all have in common is that they all won the NBA championship. Now, I understand the Clippers being a deadly team and the Clippers being a matchup nightmare for virtually every team in the NBA. But the one thing that does concern me about the Clippers is the fact that they seem to be a little inconsistent at times with their level of play. Like, for all of the Kawhi Leonard comparisons to Michael Jordan, and they're viable and credible in most instances, but I just can't see Michael Jordan letting his Chicago Bulls. I mean, you're gonna have your occasional loss, a fluky loss where your team loses by 25 to a 14. That might happen occasionally, but when you're a championship level team, you don't fucking lose to a Minnesota Timberwolves team that didn't even get the asset of their trade yet by 27 points or whatever the fuck it was. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes the Clippers look like the best team in the NBA, and then sometimes they just look, I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think the Clippers are still one of the top three teams in the NBA, but I still believe in my heart of hearts that the Milwaukee Bucks are the best team in the NBA. And I understand that, some people feel like the Bucks don't have a shot at winning a championship. I disagree. Sometimes, even though you could have some matchup issues, sometimes shit happens. Sometimes guys don't play very well when they should be playing well. So I don't know. But anyway, tell me what you guys think. Do you think that the Milwaukee Bucks have enough to win a championship? And what do you think of Khris Middleton so far this season? I think he's been playing very well. I honestly wish that Khris Middleton was averaging even more than what he is. You know what I'm saying? I wish he was even more offensively assertive than what he is. I want to look at something right quick. I want to see his shot attempts per game. His shot attempts per game have been going down the last 3 years. In 2018, he averaged 15.5 shot attempts per game. Last year, he only averaged 14.9. This year, he's only averaging 14.7 shot attempts per game. But because of the fact that he's been more accurate from the field, from all over, you know, overall, three-pointers, even from the foul line, I think he gets the foul line possibly a little bit more than last year. Even though I don't think he shoots a lot of free throws anyway, but because of that, his scoring overall is up. But I just want to see something. I want to see his shot attempts versus Ray Allen's. Now, this is what's interesting to me. Ray Allen was probably the third option on those Celtics teams behind Pierce and Garnett. But he averaged 13.5 shot attempts the championship year, then 13.2, and 12.2 the year they went to finals the last time. I don't know, man. I just wish Khris Middleton was taking more along the lines of like 17 shot attempts per game. I wish he would shoot a little bit more. Because he has a very, he's an awesome offensive player. He's not a great one-on-one ISO guy, but when I look at Khris Middleton, I see a guy who sometimes loses confidence in his ability to score. And to be a great scorer in the NBA, you can't have that type of mindset. You have to feel like you can bust anybody. You know what I'm saying? I don't see any reason why this guy can't average 25 points a game. This is a guy that put up 51 points in a game this season. When I see Khris Middleton, I'm thinking to myself, this guy could be better than Michael Redd. When I see him, I'm like, this guy can be better than Michael Redd. Why is he so hesitant sometimes? I don't know. But tell me what you guys think.